Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven,
My name is Jerry.
and today I'm wearing a hat.
For all
Thank
those
you,
listening on the
Yeah.
radio podcast,
Yeah, I don't normally wear a hat.
congratulations.
This is a
you
new
you
hat.
now know what he's wearing.
This hat, Jerry, I got from Fanatics, the Fanatics Sportsbook. If you, I think, put in like $50 prior
If you're a
to,
North Carolina resident,
yeah, if you're a North Carolina resident, if you put in $50 prior to the 10th of March, so this is all over now. Probably should have said it before that happened, but whatever. We're not being paid by Fanatics, so. But if you put in $50, you got a $60 credit to Fanatics.com to buy whatever. So I got two hats. I got this hat and I got a Braves hat, and pretty happy about it.
I should have done that to buy a new jersey because my Brian Burns
Hmm.
and Christian McCaffrey are
Ah.
no longer relevant.
Well, Jerry, maybe you can get a Deontay Johnson jersey
Yes, yes.
because he is now a Carolina Panther.
I like that pickup. I'm not a big fan of Deontay Johnson, like in general. Like I've
Right.
never been woo-hoo for him, but I like this move for the Panthers. The Steelers are giving the Panthers a 7th round pick, and Deontay Johnson, and receiving a 6th round pick and Dante Jackson. So basically, we're dropping back to the 7th round for one of our 6th round picks and just giving them Dante. They were going to cut Deontay Johnson. We are going to cut Dante Jackson. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think we came out like $4 million more than what we were originally going to be paying
mhm.
for Dante Jackson. So it's really not that big a deal. But it gives us a legit deep threat, a receiver who has been productive.
Yeah.
He went an entire season and a half without catching a touchdown, but between that season and a half, he caught plenty of touchdowns. He was just fine.
Yeah. He cut
So
5 last year.
he
So,
got 5 last year, like at the second half of the year. There's some question about maturity, some things like that. I think he quit on a few plays last year. There was some locker room stuff with him last year with the Steelers, but there was some locker room stuff with a bunch of Steelers last year. And I don't know that you can blame him for that. I think that was just kind of the culture there. So,
yeah.
change of scenery could be good for him.
Yeah. I mean, same
He's
with
going to be
Dante
the guy
Jackson.
here. Yeah. Right,
I,
right.
I mean, you don't trade for a number one guy with just basically trading someone you're going to about to cut and just,
Hmm.
moving up or dropping back 1 round. So there's obviously issues there with Deontay Jackson. But that being said, the Panthers
Johnson.
Johnson made a really, really good move, in my opinion. You're getting a receiver who's had 1,000 yards, who had
Hmm.
700 last year, 800 the year before, 900 before that. So he's been consistently good.
Yeah,
It's just, he's wore out his welcome in Pittsburgh, and this Panther team needed talent at the receiver core. I mean,
definitely.
besides Adam Thielen, at least with Deontay Johnson, he could be a number 2. I mean, good.
Yeah.
There's still room for Jonathan Mingo, Terrace Marshall, if he brings a bouquet of roses to Canales. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
yeah,
Not only that, but he's been healthy. I mean, he's played a minimum of 14 games every year. And before this, I mean, he played 14 games this past year. And before that, it was 15, 16, 17. So, I mean, he's been healthy. He's a guy that you can count on to be available. Like you said, 1,100-yard season in 2021, 8 touchdowns that season. That's a legit number one. That's what we were getting out of DJ Moore.
yeah.
So if he can provide that, and again, we're not done with wide receiver.
Oh no.
Certainly, I think we probably have another free agent signing to go here. Definitely going to be getting a draft pick or 2 or 3, in the draft. So good start. on the offensive side of the ball with the guards that we talked about on our last episode.
Guard. We didn't talk about Damian
We
Lewis.
hadn't
We'll
talked about
talk
the new.
about
Okay,
him.
we talked about Hunt. So Deontay Johnson, a good wide receiving pickup. I mean, again, it's basically a 1 year deal, and we'll see if they decide to extend him or what happens at the end of the year. But for this year, for Bryce's development, to have a guy like that is pretty good.
Yeah, low risk,
Pretty good
high
job.
reward type of guy.
Right.
I mean, what if he doesn't pan out here? Oh well. I mean, he's gone. Dante Jackson was already being cut. I mean, what?
You
6
gave
million,
up a
4 million
6th round
against
pick.
cap? Yeah.
And you got a 7th. So you gave up 40 spots or something. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So I do like it. It's all upside, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
You're getting
now,
a starter for that. I mean,
yeah, and we talked about Dante Jackson being cut. You know, the news came out a couple of weeks ago. We've talked about that on a previous podcast. It sucks to see him go. I like Dante Jackson as a person, and as a player as well. I mean, when he was healthy, and especially the last couple of seasons, he's been very good. You know, a above average corner,
yeah.
very fast. Relied too much on his speed as a young corner, but seemed to really kind of come around. And I think he'll be really good in Pittsburgh.
I do too. I didn't really want to cut him, but I understood where they were at. He's a solid number 2, and they got to cut some fat financially so they can make other moves. I feel like so far, even though we haven't gotten into the rest, I feel like they're trying to load the offense to be more even with the defense and shrink the defense a little bit. Like, hey, we had all this money and Brian Burns and some of the premier guy, all our best players were on defense and no one was on offense. Let's kind of mix it up here.
Yeah. Agreed. And let's just keep on going with these offensive pickups, Jerry.
Mm-hmm. Damian Lewis signed shortly after we recorded the other night.
Yeah. The same night, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years, 53 million, 26 guaranteed by Spot Rack. He's 26 years old. You're paying him roughly $12 million a year, and that's really not it. It's a 2-year deal. So
yeah, 2 years, 27 million or so. But again, you have him locked up for the 4 if he's just a great player. And this is a guy who had a 97.2 pass block efficiency rating last season. So that's great. Like, the interior of the line is now solidified.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the goal of this offseason was to help Bryce. Getting the 2 big guys up front, getting Deontay Johnson, not Jackson. Dante Jackson, Deontay Johnson. It was.
We haven't even gotten to the rest of the DJs. There's still plenty more.
But I'm saying, like, they're really trying to. You could see what they're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
Now, will it work out? I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful. I like what it looks like on paper, but last year I liked what it looked on paper too. So I could easily be wrong and swayed by paper.
Well, I think last year, because the year before the line was pretty good, right? I think they ended up as a top 10 line, but that line, the personnel and the scheme matched.
With Steve
last
Wilkes.
year, right? Last year, and we've talked about it, the personnel and the scheme wrong. Didn't match at all. Frank Reich came in and tried to force his scheme on a team that didn't play that way.
It still boggles my mind as a veteran coach that he tried to do that, by the way.
So Canales is coming in. He's going to be doing the zone blocking scheme as well, but he is, bringing in players that fit that scheme, that have had success in that scheme. So this is the way to do it. If you're going to switch up the scheme, make sure you have the right type of personnel. So again, I think Icky, we'll see. He's more of a power guy, but again,
you just spent a top 10 pick 2 years ago. I get that.
Yeah, you're not getting rid of him. And again, a new offensive coaching staff, could maybe unlock something different with him. He looked good in his first year, so maybe we'll get more of that. But there's next year to continue to upgrade the line. There's the draft. They could easily draft a
Mm-hmm.
tackle, at some point during this draft.
And,
So
and supposedly there's a good bit of good tackles in this draft. I really haven't looked
yeah,
too much into it, but if
and there's
someone
still some
fell to
tackles in free agency.
yeah, I mean, if someone fell to third round or fairly inexpensive to help him out or compete with him, I wouldn't be shocked. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, so this line is a work in progress, but much improved
mm-hmm.
from where we were last year. And again, when you have a 5'6" quarterback, you have to have a
I am
strong
not playing
interior.
quarterback, sir. I am
Well,
not
you have
playing.
to have all right, 5'10", whatever he is. Uh, you have to have a strong interior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the pass rush coming straight at him in his face, he can't see. He can't see over the line. So this is going to help him so much. And then you add the deep threat with Deontay Johnson. You probably move Thielen into the slot if he's still here. I still think he'll be traded, but if he's still here, you put him in the slot. Probably a receiver to be named later on the other side, and all of a sudden, offensively, things are looking interesting.
Yeah, I agree everything except for the Adam Thielen part, but that's what they did with Drew Brees is
Yeah.
that they really built the interior of line. Uh, Austin Corbett's going to be moving to center. That's what all reports are
Mm-hmm.
showing. So that line is beefy. That line should be able to help from the inside guys coming straight at him.
Yeah.
Uh, Other than that, I mean, getting that deep threat, getting Adam Thielen some help. Hopefully Mingo shows up again. I am not shocked when we draft in or bring in free agency more wide receivers. Before I move into our next re-signing here, beer bet of the offseason for Adam Thielen?
In terms of being traded or not,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Beer bet
You
of the
know, and
offseason.
I just want to make it, yeah, I just want to make it clear. I do not want Adam Thielen to be traded. I want Adam Thielen to be here. I just think Adam Thielen will be traded.
Oh,
So
I
before we
understood
get
that.
the angry tweets, I'm not advocating for Adam Thielen to be traded, but just based on what he has said and based on the direction the team seems to be going in terms of getting a lot younger and faster, I feel like it would not shock me if he's traded. Let's say that.
Okay.
All right.
Uh, Moving on, the Panthers did go ahead and make a re-signing this year on the wide receiver. Amir Smith-Marset signed a 1-year deal. Great. I like that pickup. He returned a
Yeah.
kick. He good return man. He showed some ability to get open and make some plays in the open. Yeah, I like that.
It's not sexy,
No.
right? But for a returner, we got a punt return touchdown that, that's not something we've seen here a lot in the last 20 years, right? Like that doesn't happen a lot with the Panthers. So, he's an electric returner, and he adds, a bit of an X factor in the passing game when he is used. He will still likely be the fourth or fifth receiver,
Oh
fifth or
yeah,
sixth receiver, maybe. Most games he probably won't get in at receiver, but the skill set is there, and the returner part for the money that he's getting is well worth it,
yeah.
in my opinion.
And even if there are 4 receivers out there, he may be able to get out there as some screens and a couple deep threats.
Sure.
That's what he's ability to do. I mean,
Yeah.
that's good. I mean, 24 years old, he has the speed, he has the athleticism. He showed it last year.
And he wanted to be here.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. He
Yeah.
wanted
He
to kind of
said he
stick
wanted
around.
to come back. So I like guys that want to be here, especially with this team, with the the culture issues that we've seen, the meddling owner, like guys that want to be here and seem like they're good guys. Like he seems like a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. And he's got the talent. So happy about it.
Yep. Um, moving to the other side of the ball real quick. Josie Jewell, inside linebacker from Denver, signed a 3-year,
Mhm.
$22 million contract. Best year was with Evero as his coordinator. So if Evero wants him back, that contract, he's not going to replace Frankie Louvu in our hearts.
And
But
probably not on the field, especially as a pass rusher,
yeah,
right? He's not a pass rusher, but he had 128 tackles with Evero in 2022. This is
yeah,
his best season, as you mentioned. So a guy that's familiar with the scheme and certainly a
flourished.
need.
Yeah,
Yeah, certainly a need with Lulu being gone. 3 years, 22 million is not bad. It's what 7, 8 million a year, seven and
yeah,
a half,
and
something
he's
like
probably
that.
going to
So,
start next to Shaq. I mean that.
oh yeah, he's definitely going to start.
So
Unless something crazy happens, but not Patrick Queen, but not a terrible consolation prize. I'd give that one, like a B minus probably,
I mean,
C
C. I
plus.
mean, he's a
Yeah,
solid player.
yeah.
He's an okay starter. So
For a team that is rebuilding, this is the kind of guy that
yeah,
is good. Yeah, a good plug-in piece.
yeah, 128 tackles. You said. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's great for a line
If you can
inside
get that out
linebacker.
of him next year, that's he's had a good season,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Continuing on the defense, it seems like at first the Panthers really focused on offense and then started recoiling back to the defense. Ashawn Robinson, uh, 28 years old from the Giants, 3 years, $22.5 million. Playing next to Derek Brown, I think this is going to be a nice little piece for that line.
Yeah. Agreed. Again, another guy that has a familiarity with Evero, this one from the Rams. So uh, I like it. He's big, 6'4", 330. You know, they're building from the interior of the lines out.
Yes.
And again, these are just good signings, good solid signings. Basically the exact same money as Jewel, 3 years for 22 million. Not gonna break the bank, and he's 28 years old. Just solid football players.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking. Good run defense. He's not a pass rusher. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's what he's going to be doing, taking up hog mollies on the offensive line. Let this other guys take him, who we'll talk about next. We might as well go there.
Sure.
Transition. The Panthers signed DJ Wonnum
Another
today.
DJ. Another DJ.
Another DJ, defensive end from Minnesota, 26 years old. You may recognize him from touchdowns this year against the Panthers.
Yeah. You may know him from scoring a touchdown against the Panthers. The only one of his career, I believe.
2 years, $12 million, $12.5 million. I like it. He had 8 sacks last year. He's a solid guy.
Yeah.
Not Brian Burns caliber, but I
No.
think he's a solid starter out there, and we still have more money left. So yeah,
Same amount of sacks as Burns had last year. Now we all know Burns had a down year last year, and there were many reasons for that. But this is a guy that's going to come in. I think he's going to give us a better pass rush than like Vitor,
mm-hmm.
right? For sure. I don't know about his run defense, but uh, he played 62 games. He started half of them, 31. So he hasn't had the amount of snaps that Burns had. I think it was like he's got like 1,200 less snaps or something like that than Burns. So I was trying to like do the math and figure out, well, if he had as many snaps as Burns, how many sacks would he had? Yeah, it's still like 10 less sacks, but it's not that crazy of a difference in terms of production. Now, again, there's a whole lot of things that go into that, right? I'm not saying that he's 90% of Burns or 80% of Burns. He's not.
Steven, quit saying he is Burns.
He's not. I'm not saying he's Burns, but he's certainly an upgrade over what we had uh, before we signed him, which
I
was
mean,
nothing.
basically, this is a great deal for him. He comes in here. If he can prove himself in a year or two, he gets an extension or goes somewhere else. He still
Mhm.
has a chance to get a contract. He just didn't have that real chance up in Minnesota with Daniil Hunter
Yeah,
and what's the other pass rusher that they had for a long
yeah. The other
time?
guy, uh, 26 years old, young.
Yeah,
Another young player, and like I said, the Panthers are getting younger, just all around. So this is what rebuilding teams should be doing. And man, I just can't tell you, even though, we completely failed on the entire Burns thing, like the
such
the
a
whole
fail.
thing.
If you take that out,
Just
I like what they've done so far.
yeah. And again, I don't blame Dan Morgan because the failure came from Scott Fitterer.
I
Okay,
still
the
have
failure came
holdover.
or David Tepper. Honestly, I think David Tepper is where the failure really has come from. Dan Morgan got the most he could out of Burns at this point, right? Now, I think I just would have signed him, but they didn't. They chose to go this direction. Again, they're blowing it up, so that's fine. Um, now that they are finally rebuilding, they seem to be doing it the right way.
Yeah, this should
So
have
I'm
happened
I'm
like 2
excited.
years ago, in my opinion.
Yeah, should have happened 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, once they hired Matt Rule and the first season went terribly, that's I think when you just blow it up. And they should have fired Rule right then. They should have blown it up, started over. That's what they should have done. But they
They
didn't.
they wouldn't have fired him out with that contract. Maybe after year 2, they should have really kind of, when everybody
I,
wanted him fired and stuff
I'm
like that.
saying that's what they should have done.
Oh well,
Not
yeah.
not what they not maybe not rationally what they would have done, but certainly after year two, like you said, certainly after year two. All right. We got another re-sign here, Jerry. Another position of need, especially after Dante Jackson got traded. Troy Hill.
Troy Hill. I thought we mentioned
Okay.
him last time, but
If we did, great. We don't have a ton to say about him. We know Troy Hill, 1 year deal.
solid
Good job.
player.
Yep. Um, let's just talk about the other corner then. Another DJ,
Mm-hmm.
Dane
Dane Jackson.
Jackson.
I mean, should
Two
we just
years.
name this team Carolina DJs?
Seriously, like it's weird the amount of DJs that are on this team or have been on this team recently. 2 years, 14.5 million. You know, I believe what he came from Buffalo, right?
Buffalo, yeah, he was backing up Tre'Davious White. He ended up
Mm.
playing a few snaps when he was injured. 34 tackles. He honestly did not play that well. I was kind of shocked that they kind of seemed to pin him as their starting corner. He gave up a passer rating of 102 when targeted,
Hmm.
so not good. Gave up 10 yards per reception.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this is a guy Dan Morgan, I guess, knew from his time there and wanted to give an opportunity to. It's not a crazy contract by any stretch, but it's not a small amount of money for a guy that has 102 passer rating against him. So,
and it
but
hasn't started.
again, J.C. Horn on one side, and then Troy Hill and Dane Jackson on the other. And again, free agency's not over. The draft is still coming, so neither one of those guys could end up starting. One could play a nickel or something. I mean, who knows? Like, there's
Yeah.
many ways this could play out.
I do want to call. I kind of dogged him there. He did have a coverage PFF grade of 71, which is a very good number.
That's quite good.
So
Yeah.
he can't
Well,
tackle
yeah.
runners though. 29 on that.
And for the 3 or 4 games that JC Horn's healthy, playing across from him is gonna
Good.
do nothing but help him.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
I think that's it.
Did we talk about Blackshear? Blackshear's back?
No, Blackshear is back. I mean, what else do we say? I like that pickup or re-signing for a third running back option. Helps
Yeah, I
out
hope he actually
returners.
gets some opportunity this year because he didn't really get a lot of opportunity last year.
Yeah, I think you and I were kind of calling for it towards the end of the season when Miles Sanders would
Definitely.
just like run into the back of the O line and fall down. So
Well, he's just a different type of running back than Sanders and Chuba. Like
and he
I
seemed to
we just
make a
wanted to
play
see
or
something
two.
different. Yeah.
Typically, when he was on the field, whether passing or running, like you said, different. It was a nice little change of pace that he threw a spark typically when he came out.
I mean, let's be honest. At the end of last year, I would have been happy to see Frank Wright go out there and strap on a helmet. I just wanted to see
He was off the
something
team by that
new.
time.
I don't. They could have signed him to come in as the quarterback. Like I just wanted to see something different. I hated watching that team last year.
God.
The good news is this is already a very different team, and I've seen some reporters, some local reporters say that they believe that this team right now is a more talented team than we had last year at this time. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree?
Mm. I think the coaching staff, as much as I wasn't a big fan of Canales and still not a huge fan, I do think that they are putting this team together the correct way.
Yeah.
In the sense that they understand the strengths of players and the weaknesses, and they are going to find players that fit their strengths. You could kind of tell that even on the defensive side, as Evero is signing players he's familiar with that have
Hmm.
succeeded previously in his 10 years with them,
Yeah.
the Josie Jewell and the Ashawn Robinson. So I do feel like they're kind of getting more input from the coaches than last year with Scott Fitter.
Yeah, and they're, the way these contracts are being structured, you hear 5 years or 5 years, $100 million for Hunt, but yeah, it's $4 million this year, $6 million this year, right? Like they're structuring these things in such a way where the cap hits aren't going to hurt us this year. You've got next year, we've got a ton of cap space open, right? And they're going to be able to create more. So Brant Tillis already showing that he is a wizard with the cap. Um, again, it started off rocky.
Yeah.
Let's just say that this offseason, the free agency started off pretty rocky with the departures and the trades that we felt we could have gotten more for. But the last few days, I feel like have been way more positive, and I am optimistic that the franchise is headed in the right direction slowly.
And slowly is kind of what we're going to be looking at. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a tear down rebuild with the quarterback and a couple players sticking around. The
this
Derek
is not
Browns.
not a 1 year rebuild.
No.
It,
And again, we kind of said this probably should have happened 2-3 years ago, but it
yep.
didn't. So now this is where we're sitting at. That being said, there is some news on the rocky start. The Panthers did try to sign Frankie Louvu. It has been
Yeah,
reported, but he opted to go to the Commanders, which
for less money.
for less money. So that shocked me. I,
It shocked me as well, but it made me feel better
Me too.
because at least they tried to sign him, and they made a competitive offer. By all accounts, they made the best offer, and he wanted a fresh start, and this team's going nowhere. So I can't blame him for wanting to try something new, and he's going to be good in Dan Quinn's system. Like
Oh
Dan Quinn's
yeah.
a good defensive coach, so Frankie Louvu is going to be good. He said he wanted to rush the passer more. And in Evero's system, he's not going to do that.
That's what I was screaming before. I thought that should have been more of the opposite of Burns, to
Hmm.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
I thought you stick Chin in the middle. That way he
Yeah.
can run freely towards the ball, which was more of his option, and you
Yep.
let Luvu rush the passer. But whatever, I'm not.
Where did Chin end up? Is it Chargers?
Washington's putting
Oh,
together
Chin's in Washington as well.
yeah,
Oh,
dude.
okay, interesting.
Dude, Washington has a very good free agent signing so far. I still don't trust him with the offense, Dan Quinn, but that defense could be a top 10 easily. I mean, you look at what they've done. Bobby Wagner next to Frankie Louvu, like, oh my gosh. And then who else did they sign? Jeremy Chin. Just their defense is going to be stout.
Yeah, and they just traded Sam Howell, so I think
Drake May or Williams is going there.
I mean, yeah, either one of those guys is going to be, I think, a really good NFL player. So they're going to have things are looking up for Washington. And that's why we have decided to make this a Commanders podcast moving forward.
I will not be a commie.
We're going to call ourselves the Seamen. And Jerry's already got the shirt on.
That's the San Diego Fleet for you uninformed people.
Yeah. The one and done.
The one and done.
That league. I think was it the UFL is starting soon, right?
The UFL XFL team
or the AFL XFL, they turn into the UFL, right?
I don't know.
Or the AAF or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Either way, the UFL is coming soon. We will not be talking about that on this podcast.
You won't be.
Jerry's going to do some one-offs.
All
right, Jerry.
Hey, everybody hit me up with your favorite team, and we'll find one together, guys.
There you go. The official UFL team of MeowMix, the podcast.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter @MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on our show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube.
We'll probably be back next week to talk about the remaining signings that happened and any trades or whatever. We're going to try to kind of get back to a weekly basis here, probably until the draft. So we'll look forward to that. And until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.